text and hadn't heard from him. Well, good morning, everybody. We will go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Finance Administration Committee, and appreciate everybody being here. The first item on the agenda is the Finance Department update. We'll turn that over to Ms. Bidding.
All right, good morning. Just wanted to give you kind of a little update of some of the things we've got going on within the department. Of course, I'd mentioned to you at the board meeting that we are in the process of putting live our online bill pay. We have a test file that we're sending to Wells Fargo today. So because we just did our billing this week, and so we'll send this first test file to them. As long as everything's good, hopefully we should have it up and live for customers to start making their payments online starting March 1st. So that's kind of our goal. We really hoped that maybe we could hit the February 1st date, but we were, like I said, with our training and stuff, it got us a little bit behind, but we should have that live March 1st. We did start on February 1st with the convenience fee, credit card fee at our Scales house. We started with that Monday, charging a $2.50 fee for every credit card transaction. And I took a look at it this morning, and we had about 25 credit cards Monday maybe, and another 40, I think, yesterday. So a total of about $102 that we've collected already just in a credit card fee. So anyway, so that's, like I said, we haven't had any complaints that I'm aware of from anybody or anything.
That's what I was wondering, what the feedback was.
We've not had any feedback from anybody. And so far, I don't see where it's really even deterred anybody at this point. We gave ample notice. Like I said, we sent out something to all the customers, or handed it out at the Scales house, but we also sent a mailer out with our statements this week as well, just letting them know that we were going to have the online bill pay available starting March 1st, and that we did implement the credit card fee starting February 1st. So far, like I said, it's going well, and haven't had any negative feedback at all. I think everybody's kind of getting used to that without any kind of credit card transactions anymore. It seems like, people are charging it all over at stores and different places. So that's been a positive. We continue to sign up customers for our online statements, emailing statements, that type of thing. I think we've currently got a little over 150 customers that we're emailing statements to.
Out of
Probably, I think we do about maybe 300 landfill customers, and then we do our quarterly billing for our cardboard container, and that's probably another maybe 500. There's a little bit more with those. But they're starting to pick up a little bit more, especially our cardboard. All of a sudden, that's really turned around, and we're starting to get those on a daily basis. So we're getting more and more of those. With this online bill pay, there will also be an option that they can mark to get their statements emailed to them. So that's kind of a double way of us being able to sign people up. They can go online when they sign up to make a payment. They can also sign up to get their statement emailed to them. So we're hoping to even get some more people that way. So we're trying to keep things a little more automated, make things a little easier. So
I think all those things at the end of the day save money and save time and are convenient, and
Exactly.
I think any of those things we can do, we're better off long run.
right. So those are some of the things that we've got, going on. That's been good.
Is everyone doing that in this county?
They are. They're doing more and more. Like I said, I know that the county, like I said, they've started that, implementing a fee, with any kind of online bill pay, that type of thing. So that's kind of where we piggybacked off of them as well. Like I said, that's where we kind of had the idea. They were trying to do that to offset their merchant costs. That's where we kind of went along the same way with doing that. I know the city of Conway also just implemented an online bill pay with the same type of fee. So we're keeping our fees right in line with everybody else as well.
Okay.
So we feel
Reverend Coakley sends his regrets. He's in bed sick, he said, so he will not be here. Yep.
I know, it is. So that's like I said, that's kind of things we're getting ready to look at some new things maybe for next year that we'll talk to you about, at the pre-budget workshop next week. But like I said, we are, utilizing any new ideas, that we can do in the department to make things streamline everything, and everything seems to be working really well. I can tell a big difference with our purchasing cards. The number of checks that we're writing has diminished greatly. It's been a tremendous help with our department, and like I said, with the number of purchase orders, but really with the check writing. Like I said, the managers are doing a great job with it. We haven't had any instances, any problems with it. I say that we did have one P card that was, must have been hacked by someone, but we got an email immediately from Wells Fargo about it. There were just some small charges. It was like a $6 charge, something like that. And so they immediately canceled the card and issued him a new one. So that's been our only problem that I can think of that we've had with it. Like I said, the managers are doing a good job. We're continuing to put that online for everybody to see. So, like I said, that's working really well. Like I said,
Didn't somebody at the shop gonna buy a wig last
That was the
$6
card.
wig.
It was a toupee and wig shop. And and it just so happens the gentleman's bald too. So I told him, if he comes in with a wig on, we're gonna know.
Well, no.
But I thought for $6, he didn't get much of a
He
wig.
didn't get-
No.
You can't even get a haircut.
Well, that's why I said a mustache. You couldn't even get a mustache for that.
You know, it's probably happened to everybody in this room. I know it has to me, where the same thing, you know, your credit card company calls you and says, did you have a charge of $4 or something
Right.
in Wisconsin or something? And they said that, you know, they're testing that to see, and
Exactly, and that's what they said. They ran it for a couple of small charges first. If those go through, then they'll start hitting it. Well, his didn't. Luckily, the bank caught him right away, and they didn't approve any of them, so then they automatically canceled his card. So that was kind of good to see, to know that that would happen.
well, thank goodness the safeguards are in place, because
That's
people
right.
stay up all night figuring out ways to steal your
Oh,
money.
they do.
And,
Exactly
yeah,
right.
and that
So-
stuff's out there.
So the purchasing card program is going really well.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
So we are.
And the haulers meeting, I know it's not on the agenda, but next week, any feedback on the number of people attending the haulers meeting next week? I mean, there may be some feedback on, like, the credit card then, but,
I've sent out, we've sent out two emails,
right.
two sets of different emails, trying to make sure they know that they're here, and contacted a few of them, the big haulers, personally, and let them know, try to be here if they can, if
Good.
they'd like to.
Okay.
Don't have any idea who's coming,
Yeah,
who ain't.
okay. No RSVP,
May get, 1 or 100.
right.
We open, huh?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
The next item I have is our budget process. I handed out to everyone kind of an updated budget calendar. Like I said, it is kind of a tight schedule, just because, like I said, we want to try to get some figures out and reviewed by the board before I send anything to the county, and I have to have some preliminary figures to the county by March 17th. So, like I said, we will have our pre-budget workshop next Wednesday, the 11th at 12 o'clock. And then we're planning on the budget workshop on March 11th. So those kind of 2 days. The ones that I have highlighted are dates that we don't have set yet, which is primarily stuff with the county. So once we get those dates secured, I'll kind of fill that in and give you a more up-to-date budget calendar. But where we are with the budget right now is the staff has already put together their capital budget and small capital items, received those from everyone last week. So I'm in the process of going through those and reviewing those right now. I sent out the operating budget figures to everyone on Monday for them to start working on. Those are due back February 19th, which isn't giving them a lot of time, but it gives them a few weeks to kind of work on their operating budget. So
Do you know how the capital compares to last year and previous years?
I haven't really taken a look at it thoroughly yet. You know, normally that's what everybody kind of goes through, is they look at what they already had budgeted, especially with our equipment replacement. You know, we have a schedule for that, so that's gonna go, you know, that's gonna stay the same. The main thing would be any kind of new items, and everybody's really kind of watched those and kind of scaled those back as just, you know, what's necessary, that type of thing. But I'll have a little bit more information, of course, for you next week once I get a chance to put all that together, so the pre-budget
A lot of-
workshop.
Yeah, I know a lot of companies kind of target the depreciation number. Is there any number that generally the authority's looking for on an annual basis, a not to exceed, or, I know it's based on need, but is
Right.
there?
Well, with our equipment replacement schedule, we've already got it, you know, that's already pretty much set in place as far as that goes. And like I said, because the other items are as-needed type thing, those are only purchased if money's available. So, like I said, for our depreciation, we kind of know already what we're anticipating, you know, like I said, so luckily, that's kind of an easy budget figure. So I'll
good.
have all that for you next week, like I
Okay,
said,
good.
pre-budget. But just as we're kind of talking about, you know, the budget a little bit, just to kind of, you know, let you know in advance, I've looked at just some preliminary revenue figures, and we are right now looking at a deficit in our revenue as compared to last year. Right now, around $230,000 difference, just to get us where we were revenue-wise for, you know, as compared to last year. That's not taking into consideration any increases in our operating budget that we know we'll have as far as personnel costs. You know, we know retirement's going up this year. You know, we automatically always budget for an increase in health insurance and workers' comp. So, you know, we know that we're going to have some discussion next week, and I just want to make you aware of it so that we can be thinking about it as to
And do you know where those shortfalls are occurring mostly?
primarily in our recyclable sales. Like I said, that was about a 2% decrease in revenue over there. The prices
And that
on the
fluctuates
market,
wildly, right?
the prices have gone down drastically. I received a call from Jeffrey Rogers Friday saying scrap metal prices were going to go down $70 a ton for the month of February, and he didn't anticipate them going up. He said he anticipated them staying that way for at least a good 6 months or better. He said they may go up $10 and down another 10.
Gas prices are getting ready to go back up. Seems like the recyclable sales ought to go back up too.
And that may help a little bit, but right now, everything is down. And like I said, you know, we're anticipating it staying that way for a little while. We haven't heard that there's gonna be any kind of increases. So like I said, that's definitely where one of our biggest hits is with the recyclable sales.
And the recyclable sales typically go down in the winter. But the thing is this winter it has went way below where it has typically in the past. You know, normally cardboard's been staying up probably in the wintertime, 115, 120. It's down to 100. You know, so a newspaper at the bottom's dropped out of it. It usually stays up pretty good during, but in the summertime it'll go higher than that. But in the wintertime it's typically went down, but it's went way below what it has in prior years.
So I'm sure by next week you're gonna have some recommendations on how to overcome that deficit and balance the budget and.
The staff met yesterday, and we've got some things that we're kind of looking at, so we're gonna have some suggestions and some things put together for you. So just wanted to kind of make you aware of where we are with that. So, anything else on the?
One thing I wanted to add to that too is that when we're talking about the over $200,000 reduction, any new programs would add to that. Like our food waste composting or anything else we'd do would add to that deficit. So it's a balancing act to try to figure out where we're gonna get that money from. So as we looking at this stuff next week, we need to think about that as we add to doing that.
The C&D impact still been about the same?
It has, it's been
Yeah.
maintaining. We've seen maybe a slight increase due to the economy, but nothing, you know, like I said, we're staying right on track where we budgeted. We budgeted 66,000 tons this year, and that's right, we're right on track with that. So I don't anticipate much of an increase in that next year. MSW is up a little bit, but those are the only two that are up any.
Shingles is what's up.
Our shingles are way up,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't generate enough revenue to help us. So we'll have
A lot of new home construction going on, huh? You know, may have an impact.
Well, you know, with our C&D, when we budgeted our C&D this year, we took into account an increase in permits and construction when we came up with that number.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's it's coming out to be true to what James projected.
Okay, thank you.
Last thing I have on here, of course, is just the financial reports. What I really wanted to kind of, you know, just talk to you about was, I said every month it seems like I'm giving you the same figures and the same reports, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to kind of talk to you about them and see if there was anything different you'd like for me to focus on, anything new or different you'd like to see in these financial reports. You know, I know a couple years ago you had made a suggestion, and it's been a great suggestion on changing something on
That's
one of
helped
the
me a
reports.
lot, being able.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I thought sometimes I feel like I'm a broken record when I get up there, and I just thought if there's anything that the committee would like for me to put more focus on or draw more attention to, maybe something new you'd like to see within these financial reports. You know, I'd love to have some feedback from you, to, you know, hear if there's anything different that I could do, any different way you'd like it presented, anything you'd like to see, any questions you might have about them. Just anything I can get from you to make it shine a little bit better.
You know, a lot of times the percentage comparison, you know, by half of the year, you're supposed to be 50% of the budget, but the actual numbers on there, it takes some calculation, and I'm not smart enough to do that quickly. And, you know, so a target may be beneficial to know that, you know, we should be at 50%, we're actually at 48%, and that translates to X number of dollars. Because
Okay.
with a huge number, obviously 2% is going to be a big number. With a small number, it may not be as
Okay.
impactful. So.
That's one of my biggest problems, that's what I was fixing to say.
Okay. Yeah, instead of just a percentage difference, what that translates into. That's a good idea. I can add that.
That would help.
That's all that I really had. Like I said, I didn't know if there's anything else we need to discuss or anything else you'd like to have from the finance department, anything else?
Any other trends that you're seeing? I mean, I know we kind of talked about MSW and kind of being on the increase, and but any trends that you see? Anything that causes you concern that we need to be aware of? That
Yeah, the recyclable sales is probably my biggest concern, because, you know, we are just, you know, we still have another 5 months within this year's budget. And that is a concern, like I said, that, you know, we've been operating in the black to this point. When you have a drastic change in our recyclable sales and price like we're gonna have, we may start seeing some definite decreases in our revenue for the rest of this year. So that's probably my biggest concern, because that's not something that we can budget for. There's not a whole lot we can do or make changes to offset those costs. That's, you know, you can't, you're still getting the same volume, and so you can't cut employees, you can't, you know, stop equipment. So that's probably one of our biggest concerns that we'll see the rest of this year, is watching that and monitoring that as closely as we can. You know, we're trying to look at other ways to generate revenue, as well as, you know, I know Lane over there at the Murphys doing a great job of looking at different ways that they can do things over there to get more recyclables, to, you know, sell to different markets, do different things. We're trying to reach out to every vendor that we can think of, too, to reach different vendors as well. I said we just sold some cardboard here at landfill to a new customer that's out of New York. And so we're trying to do some of those things, but it is a concern. That's probably the biggest concern. When you start seeing those prices drop, you know, that, because like I said, those recyclable sales are a big portion of our revenue stream.
What's the actual number now? You said the 230 was a projected number by the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
What's the actual number now? Do you have that?
Let's see. Right now, we're at 46% of budget. Now you're gonna ask me to calculate that, aren't you? But our recyclable sales, just, you know, at the end of December, we're only at 43% of budget. So, like I said, you know, that's, you know, I can't give you a dollar amount right off the top of my head, but, you know, at a $3 million, you know, budget figure is what we had anticipated. So we're already seeing, you know, a decrease there, and that's through December. And our biggest hit's really going to be in January. That's when we've really seen the prices change. So, you know, I'll give you some more information on that at the next board meeting. I'm sorry, but yeah,
Okay.
that's probably our biggest concern right now.
It's the, I'm sorry.
And I think another indicator is that, and you'll see this at the board meeting, is our transfers. You know, typically, we've had transfer monies in the first quarter and the second quarter of the year, and in the third quarter, we've had to take some of it back. Well, this year, we're gonna have to be taking some back in the second quarter, not the third.
Mm-hmm.
So it's to balance our books. So that's one of the indicators that Jan's been watching real close. Well, what's that gonna affect us? And her and I's talked about it, and, you know, is it really, we transferred a lot the first quarter. How does that play into effect? Is it gonna continue this way? If revenues continue to drop, you know, you're gonna have that issue. Where we have to go back, maybe take all of the money that we transferred into our piggyback contract, our landfill construction account. You know, we may end up taking most of that back before the end of the year if the indicators, because we're a quarter ahead this year.
And that'll have a big impact on next year as well. You know, like I said, those transfers. Chances are, you know, we may not have any funds available to transfer next year because our budget's going to be so tight. And, you know, where that plays into effect is, you know, when we look at it each quarter, if we have money to transfer, sometimes we keep some of that money in the undesignated funds so that they can make, some of the managers can make purchasing equipment, you know, purchase equipment, stuff that's not budgeted, or, for instance, I know Bill had a jack that he wanted to purchase, you know, this quarter, and I told him, you know, we don't have the money there to do it. So when it starts limiting on some of those things that they maybe need, but we're not able to purchase because the money's not there. So, like, these are just some of the things that are concerning for next year as well as for the rest of this year.
It's definitely a new area for us, of way of doing business a little bit tighter. And we've tightened up on the budget and reduced employees and reduced overtime, and now we're getting down to, it's there.
So the activity at the MRF really hasn't reduced. It's all price-driven.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have not seen any drop really in the tonnage.
Well, we did lose the Sunoco tonnage,
Yeah.
but when they pulled out and carried it to Murphy, Charleston, but we cut people to, you know, we took people out.
Offsetting that.
So,
I guess the hard question is, how close are we to asking the sacred cow question about rates?
we're doing everything we can not to have to ask that question, but I don't know that question may be answered. Danny said this morning, I guess we're gonna have to try to find a way to live within our budget first. And we're trying. That's why we met yesterday for 2 or 3 hours. Try to come up with ways. And but we gotta know what the board wants us in the pre-budget workshop. What do you want us to be? Is there things you want us to do next year? Y'all have ideas, things you wanna look at, because that will that will affect our operating budget. And then once we do that, then we'll end up with a final number.
What would you do with incentives?
Ma'am?
The incentives that we give, what would you do about cutting those?
We talked about those yesterday and the impacts that have on us, and there's some plus and minuses to it. We think that it keeps our MRF running, getting material in our MRF that would possibly leave. But we did talk about different ways to handle those and how we would do it. As soon as we get through with the budget workshop, I think we'll get more to what staff would recommend, and we see where we're gonna end up at.
If you lowered the rate on C and D and we got that back, what difference would that make?
We've not really played with those numbers. They would, of course, the operating costs would go down because your operating cost per ton would go down. But we've not really looked at that. We don't think cutting revenue is an option. We're just short on revenue right now.
Okay. Any of the new projects that we're looking at doing, like the food waste or whatever, I'd like to see the actual numbers financial of what it would cost, and at what point it would turn around and we would break even or do better on that. Anything that you're thinking about doing, any place that you would think you needed to hire a person, I'd like to see that before you did it, and the justification for anything that we do like that.
Okay. Sure say Bill's been done a good job, he's worked on that, so. I don't have anything else for you, if there's anything else.
Is anyone going to the council retreat in Annapolis? Nobody wants to go and you're gonna make him, huh? Okay.
We generally look at going, and I've talked to Mike maybe about going down one afternoon and coming back the next day, just, you know, if there's any questions, anything that they need to ask us, that we would be there. Sometimes you don't need to invite yourself to somebody else's party. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of discussion about us. And I think we need to be handy if in fact something does come up. And
I agree.
we're not scared to go, but I think we will look at going, and we don't know if we'll stay on the compound or not, but we'll be there for the meeting.
At the meeting last night, I expressed my displeasure about it being there. I don't think it's very convenient for citizens to have to go to Annapolis to see their council meeting. But, you know, that's the first time in a long time it's been there.
And there's pros and cons to having them
There is, I'm
there.
sure.
I mean, you can, if you don't like it, you can argue that it shouldn't, but it's a neat place to have one.
Yes, it is. I've been to the ones they've had there, and it's very
And
nice
Pickup does
facility.
a good job with it. Just a neat place, but we're planning on going, you know, for a couple of the meetings.
Okay.
I want to, based on Ms. Creech, your comments on the programs and stuff and them paying for themselves. We do a lot of programs that don't pay for themselves. We do it to save landfill space and because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much been the mission of the authority for a long time. And staff has not looked at changing that mission. We've looked at try to reduce cost in those programs as much as we possibly can. But we have not looked at cutting those programs because they didn't pay for themselves. Because if it does, most of them would be gone.
Yeah.
And so anything we start, we look at the landfill savings, being the right thing to do, trying to make a better product out of it and things. But, you know, our mission statement is to try to do that. And we've not looked at that. If the board in our pre-budget workshop wants us to look at those things, we'll be glad to look at them. But it's going to be most of our programs.
Well, I wasn't really meaning the programs that you had with school programs. I meant any new thing we did, like the food.
You want to see the
waste.
impact of it.
I want to see the impact of the food waste. And I definitely want to see the landfill space that it saves, because to me, those things equal equal out in money in the long run. But I didn't mean your other programs, I meant anything that we decide to start. Just like I think, and I hope you're looking at different machinery that would let us help us process certain plastics we can't now. Any of those things that we can do, and it's not going to be terribly costly, and that within a few years it'll balance that back out and be able to take that out of the landfill, that is very useful to me. And I do think we need to do our mission, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Those are the things I think we need to concentrate on, and I know that some of those are gonna cost us money.
Well, see, give you an example, the food waste composting we talked about yesterday. To give you some food for thought. You know, we feel like if we start that thing, get our permits in, and start it July 1st, and the private industry brings the stuff to us, we don't have to collect it. You know, you're looking at a cost of about half of what it's gonna cost the next year.
Right.
Because the next year, you're gonna be full-blown into it. It'll take you a year to get your feet planted. So you're looking at a small cost to start the first year, but that second, third, because once you start it, you're there
Yeah,
in that third, fourth, and fifth year. So we gotta look at those impacts. Can we cover those costs in the second years? And the third years?
until it pays for itself.
And it may never pay for itself. I don't think food waste will ever pay for itself.
Well, if you put in the landfill space, you say,
And we'll have
and
to
the
look at
other
that.
problems you have, then it may, very
Yeah.
well.
Anything else? Ms. Bidding, finance?
Nothing else from the finance department.
Mr. Knight, overall, anything?
Yes, sir, I think staff's doing a great job on talking through the budgets, and tight money makes you do new and strange things, and, probably if I had it to go over with, when I got here, I started trimming the budget and cutting them back and cutting certain programs, and I wish we had that money today. I wish we would have maybe waited to the day to start cutting, but we didn't. We felt that that was the thing to do at the time, and I think it was. But we will get there. We will bring this budget in the black that we're in today. And we'll have a balanced budget when we present it to you. We're talking about some of our old programs. We'll be talking about some of the philosophies that we've had in the past. And some of those were, you know, if we were doing certain recycling, and John Doe came up with a recycling program, and he went out and took that customer, we said, well, okay. Now, do we get competitive? Do we stay competitive? And that's some of the things we need, kind of some thought processes from the board. It is very competitive, as we all know. And in good times, there are a lot of them. In bad times, looks like it's us. But we're in it for a different reason. And that's what we've got to be careful, as we told the mayors at the mayor's meeting. We've got to do our due diligence on any diversion process that's out there. And when we stand in front of, as I told John Rhodes, when we stand in front of your council and recommend a magic box A with your tipping fee doubled, we want to feel very good about the process and that where it's worked and where it's working. So, it's going to be a very interesting year again in the waste business. We'll be here.
You know, all signs point towards a good tourist season. I think that could have a potential positive impact on everybody as well, hopefully. And, you know, we'll to me, the key's always gonna continue to be operating as efficiently as possible, and I think the staff's done a great job. I commend everybody for the job that's been done, and I encourage everybody to continue to look at ways to be as productive as possible. We could always have too few people working or too many people working. We could cut too many programs and not cut enough programs, and it's never about, the short-sighted goals. To me, in long-term, efficiency is the key, and that doesn't always mean, well, let's just go cut these costs short-term to make it look good, when long-term it's gonna have a negative impact. But again, I commend staff for the work that's been done and encourage everybody to continue to look at those ways to be as efficient as possible.
And I think the way we do our financials, we look at each program, pretty much can tell you what each program has cost. And someone told Mike Bessa last week, he was talking about the process and where we stood and where we did, and he said, a lot of public facilities don't do that. And they don't. The private side knows. You know what the bottom line is, and you know what you have to meet when you cross the fence. And we pretty much, we're pretty good at that too. And we're getting better at it, and, this type money this year, we'll be better next year than we were this year.
My business programs, departments like security don't generate any revenue. And somebody just looking at, how much that cost would say, well, just go cut that out or cut it back. And, obviously you can't do that. It's part and parcel to the big picture and the service we provide. And we have to understand that that's a cost of doing business over there to help us generate the revenues where they are generated. So, again, I think efficiency is the key. It's, operating as efficient as possible. And it doesn't mean, cutting as many. We could cut half of our employees today and still operate. Long-term, that would be in our best interest, because from a service standpoint, it just wouldn't make any sense. So, again, commend the staff, appreciate all the efforts, and know that our work doesn't get any easier. It's, it's gonna continue to provide challenges for us. But, like you say, we'll work together and explore all the options and get it done however it needs to be done.
We're up for it.
I know you are. No, you are. Ms. Creech, anything else from the committee?
Not a thing.
All righty. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn. I thank everybody for being here and look forward to the pre-budget workshop next week. Thank you.